Congratulations, Fallen, on being the first. Ooh woo. What cookies do you think Santa likes? All. Hello, everybody. What's up? It's me, your good bitch Rosemary Darling, back on my bullshit. And you can tell I'm extra good, because I finally got a little halo on. Look at me. Aren't I such an innocent noodle? Which means you should not look in my closet. There are, no adult toys. There are no dead bodies. There's no contraband. And yeah, I'm a perfect noodle. I've done nothing wrong. Is the halo glued to your horn? Shut the fuck up! So anyway, what I'm saying is I've been a very good girl in Santa. I deserve like $1 million. And the pony. And stop trying to kidnap me. I know everybody's asking for a MILF girlfriend, but Jesus Christ. Dude, it's been like several times. Rose, why are you storing your dead bodies next to your adult toys? Oh, no, don't worry. They're in separate containers. So that way there's no cross-contamination. What? You are a MILF? Yes, I am. What? It wasn't obvious? I need to add more coffee. Bring me my MILF license. I need to show them. Not really. I mean, yeah, in this outfit, you can't really see the schmoobies. The boos and the schmoves. Hold up. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Tabletop Talk. We're just gonna be talking about red and green flags with gaming groups, GMs, and systems. Because red and green, holidays, Christmas. You see what I did there? I stayed on topic.
Excuse me? Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry.
Mommy? But yeah, this was inspired by a very specific video online on the YouTube. And it was a video by the Dungeon Dudes. And the title is 10 Big Red Flags When Joining a D&D Group. And I'm like, you know, this is a fantastic... Yes. Guilty. I'm guilty as charged. But yes, although it's about like gaming groups and like dungeon masters, I'm like, let's go a little bit further with that. Because there are some dog shit ass systems out there that were not written with care in mind. There are some absolute just... The Dungeon Dudes, they're pretty pog. Yeah, I've been really liking what I'm seeing from them. Because generally, they'll bring up something. And I'll be like, well, what about XYZ? And then 2 minutes later, they bring up XYZ, and I'm like, oh shit, they're ahead of me on the game. They seem like they know what they're saying, and I can respect that. Another channel that I've been really getting into when it comes to tabletop gaming related content. Pokemon XYZ when? Cat pasta? That was kind of random. I have no idea what that has to do with literally anything I've said, but Dungeon Craft. He's an older dude, and he's been at it for way longer than I've been alive. I think he said he had over 30 years of experience, and I turn 30 next year, so he's been doing it for longer than I've been alive, and it shows. But he has, some good ideas. He can come off as a little bit of a boomer sometimes, but he's generally got his head on right. And 2 of those came out already. Make your own fan game called Yeah, X and Y exists. Yeah, Pokemon X, Y exist. My brain is only listening to 1% of what's being said. Okay. That's a you problem. That's not a me problem. Anyway, so just a couple of, hold up. I am not following Dungeon Craft on my VTuber account. So let me follow him there. But yes, Red and... You know what? Let's watch the Dungeon Dudes video, so that way people who don't know what I'm talking about, we can all be on the same page. Not a fan of the Dungeon Dudes. This is less to do with their content and more to do with their pacing. I can see why you would think that. I'm okay with it though. Like, it's not a deal breaker for me. I'm just glad that they're not critically fucking stupid like certain D&D content creators I've seen that I will not be naming because 1, that's Monketeer West, and 2, I'm not out here to start shit, okay? I'm not here to cause drama. I'm just here to enable good games and spread good vibes. And spreading drama is the opposite of that. But yeah, we're gonna skip the intro and just go straight into it. If you want to see the full video without me blabbering on and pausing it every 5 seconds, just go look them up yourself on the YouTubes. We are here to have a discussion.
Group.
There are lots of new people joining the hobby of Dungeons and Dragons, and there's a lot of people out there looking for groups and trying to find anybody.
Oh, wait, hold up. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that was also part of intro.
So with that, let's dive in and look at the very first red flag.
Yeah, that was also intro.
And this is kind of the mother of all red flags, I believe. If you join a new D&D group and there is no session 0, no talk of a session 0, or no prognosis of having perhaps a session re-0 to integrate you as a new player into the group, that's probably the biggest single red flag going.
All right. So if you want to listen to their commentary on it, again, the video, but Yo, collab? Oh, yeah, sure. I didn't know anyone would be there. Hello, Vit.
Hello. Give me a second to open up the video.
Oh, you're good. We're not going to be combing over every inch. We're just using it as more like a guideline, if you will.
Well, that's true, but I can't hear it on my end.
Yeah, that's fair. I shall be waving from the audience, very tired tonight. Yeah, being what normally joins for Tabletop Talks, but he is too sleepy tonight, which is valid. We've all got sleepy bitch disease today. It's just that even with my sleepy bitch disease, I still want to talk about this shit. But yes, first red flag. No session 0. And I confess, I went through a lot of games in my life without doing session 0s, either as a GM or as a player. To me, they're a newer concept. They're great, don't get me wrong. And like, my life has improved since I started doing and being in session 0s. I just wasn't aware of them for the longest damn time. And you can tell because a lot of my earlier tabletop RPG stories are horror stories. A lot of them could have been avoided with a session 0. If only because I would have recognized the red flags before starting the game and had gone, oh fuck, this is bad, and failed.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I started to get more involved in doing, is because, I would run into problems where it's like, I probably should have nipped this in the bud before we started, because it was either just like a mismanagement of like what people were understanding when they got into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually had a session 0 not that long ago where I walked out because one, the GM was saying that the game, like the GM was pacing it entirely on, oh, the game doesn't start until I get there, but also didn't care about what time they showed up. And then we also had a player who was just like, yeah, I want to play, but I don't want to read the rule books. So somebody make a character for me and I'll join.
Yeah. Oh my god. I took psychic damage from that. That's a red flag for players. Players who are completely like, I will refuse to even try and read the rule book. Like, take this from someone who gets intimidated by those bitches. You gotta at least try. At least try a little bit to learn the rules, crack that shit open, find the important parts, read the important parts at least a couple times, skim over it. Like, we're not asking you to memorize the rulebook. Nobody is. And if they are, punch them in the face. For legal reasons, that's a joke. But just try. Make
Yeah,
an
like
effort.
the one player that was tasked with having to make the dude's character. Like I even straight up told them is like I told the person who was making it is like I really honestly think that if they're not willing to learn how to play, then they shouldn't be playing. And
I fully agree.
Because the thing was that they were also like asking me for help for like, hey, what should I do here? And it's like, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna know what their character can do because they're not gonna read the rules.
Yeah, it's like, please regurgitate the rules at my convenience for me. It's like, I may be a spoiled little princess, but that's a little too princessy even for me. Like, homie, you gotta crack that shit open, as Coffee said. It's like, you gotta at least make an effort to, on your own, learn the rules in a way that makes sense for you. We all have different learning styles. That's fine. Some of us have autism. That's fine. There's no excuse for not... If you can't figure out the rules to at least some extent, or at least try, I don't know if you're gonna have it in you to commit to the commitment that is a tabletop game. Side red flag, players who only reference a wiki, never the direct rules. Oh my god.
Yeah, had a player that did that. Well, not only did they do that, but they also thought that the wiki was the direct rules.
Yeah, oh my god, that is... It's a ginormous red flag.
Yep. Like every time they brought it up, it's like, oh yeah, this is the rule, and I was like, which book is that in? And they would be like, oh, I read it on the wiki. It's like, the wiki is not an official source.
Yeah, it's like... Because that's the thing about wikis. Anyone can edit them. The Overwatch wiki, there was a point in time where it said Torbjorn's quote was, "Love me some crusty toes," you know? Yeah, they're a great reference, but it's not great for... It's no replacement for knowing the rules as they're written in the book.
Well, you have to be careful with that too, because like the D&D wiki is actually 100% fan content.
Yeah, it really is. I learned that one the hard way.
Like there are some online reference materials, but specifically like D&D wiki is just entirely fan content, which was the website that the one guy was using.
Oh no. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, that's so bad. Yeah, no, I tried to look up some races because I was trying to make a character for 3.5 and I went way out there for my character's race. And I tried to find a good race to fit her because I had a very specific concept, and there was so much homebrew shit. So much homebrew shit that only made sense for like one specific homebrew world. It was useless. The wiki was useless. It was hell. D&D wiki was the bane of my early player experience. It is the bane of my current experience. It's just bad. But yeah, I got a tablet recently, and I went to go find some apps that I thought would help me with my tabletop gaming. Turns out, there's not a lot of them that aren't for 5e. Like 5e specifically. Because I was like, oh, it's the wiki, it's gotta be official. But then I found out it's nearly all homebrew. That's the secret. Most wikis are fan run. I think the Stardew Valley wiki was recently taken under Concerned Ape's wing. But don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. And that's the thing. To err is human. But yes. Just no session 0. What is the next one? Joining an established campaign and they try to and they don't try to. No, I don't want to exit OBS. What? I did not click that button. Excuse me. But yes, when you got a new player joining an established campaign, and you don't even try to catch that poor bitch up, tell them at least some important things. That's stupid. Like, we'll watch a little bit of this. We'll see.
Everyone in the group.
And I think when we're talking about new players joining a game, this does bring us to our second red flag. And that is if you are joining a game that is already in progress, perhaps in mid-tier to high-level play. Now, there are a few stipulations that I want to say with this, because this is actually quite a common thing. I myself, when I was running my first campaign, had 2 players that ended up having to leave my table for personal reasons. I now had only a few players at my table, and we wanted a few more. So I asked some friends that were interested if they wanted to join a game that was already at level 5 or 6. However, we had a session re-0 to help introduce them, and that helped mitigate that. But if you're a brand new player and you show up to D&D and they say, all right, here's the table. We've been playing together for 4 months. We're level 6 and yep, join in with your character. Let's go.
That happened to me! That actually happened to me. Fun story. So, it was actually with my very first campaign. I did not start from the beginning. This campaign had been going on for months before I got there. And keep in mind, superheroes, somewhat high-level mutants, masterminds. I show up, and I don't remember if I got an explanation as to the story. They were just like, make your character, okay, here you are. And like, some players offered to explain it to me, but the GM was like, nope, we're in the middle of the game, you can explain it to her later, we gotta go. I'm like, wait, I wanna know! Can you show me? So yeah, I was a victim of that one. And well, we all know how that campaign ended. In flames.
Yeah, it's always a standpoint that I look. So I might actually be I might be raising a red flag here, but I'm not usually into the idea of having a person join anymore. Because like the 1 or 2 times that I have, it just causes the whole game to fall apart.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with the experiences that I know that you've had, because I don't know your entire gaming career, but I have been there for some of it, and shit really goes fucky. Also, is this image fucking AI generated? I'm disgusted. I'm getting a new one. Fuck that shit. There we go, this one looks like a photo. Sorry about that. AI images filming.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, I remember some of the incidents you've had with trying to get new players to fill in for old players, and you want to talk about those at all, or?
Not particularly.
Fair enough. But yeah, this is a flag that happened to me, like literally first thing. They don't even need to know everything that happened. Just give this summary of recent events and important yeah, the important stuff and the recent stuff. That's what they need to at least have a basic knowledge of. It just doesn't have to be in depth. Just we're trying to kill Lord Fuckington, and we're currently like halfway to his palace because we're traveling across the world. Currently, we're in a village that's under siege by orcs. Boom. That took like what? 20 seconds.
If that.
If that. Hold up, I will be right back. I have to get something to drink because my throat is so parched. Don't start chanting egg.
So chat, what we should do is start chanting eggnog.
You know, I can't even be mad. I did say not egg, but I never said anything about eggnog. Well done. Well done. I'm proud of you, chat. Ah, yes, the next one's where it gets fun.
It's just not ideal.
As we move on to our next point, this
Yeah,
one is
skip
another
ahead.
interesting red flag that
I actually have to disagree with this one.
With the long list of banned options.
Oh, so that can kind of depend. I guess I need to watch this entry more to see like what they mean by the long list. But like as a 3.5 player, like when you consider just how many books there are, if my GM goes, yeah, I'm only allowing players to make characters with like these 8 books, I can understand that because it's.
There's still a ton
there's,
to
like,
work
player
with in
options.
those 8 books with 3.5 is the thing. I've actually seen the full video, so I can explain a little bit about what they go into with this one. Basically, it's more like when your players are stifled creatively and you give them like almost no options, or you take most of their existing options away and they have very little and they feel stifled, and you keep adding new shit on top of the old shit. They say, oh, well, what about this? And you go, no, I don't want that. I don't like that. It's like, but it's not on the banned list. And they're like, it is now, continue. And it's just like...
Oh, okay, so like walking into a game is like, yeah, you can only play human, elf, and dwarf, and you're only allowed to play with these 5 classes, and you're not allowed to choose X number of backgrounds. Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
that's
it's more like that. Siobhan, get out of there! You are not allowed on the wires. Where is the spray bottle? Sir? I love you, baby boy. You can't be doing that. Anyway, but yeah, that's what this more is like. Because, especially with 3.5, it's like, there's so much to 3.5. That if you say we're only using 8 books, there's still so many character options in just those 8 books.
Yeah.
There's
Man, it's like...
It's still a playground, a smorgasbord.
Well, I'm thinking about like even non-D&D stuff. Like I could imagine... I'm just imagining like somebody going, yeah, we're playing Vampire the Masquerade, but you're only allowed to choose these 2 bloodlines.
Yeah, like the thing is, having things that you're not comfortable with and banning at your table, that's fine. That's Gucci. Like, I support that. But when your players have like next to no options and they can't move without feeling suffocated, maybe you need to reconsider a few things. Unless you're doing a gimmick game like All Dwarves Kneecap Squad, or only clerics were the Amen. See,
Amen.
But that's a thing where like all the players and the GM all agree ahead of time, and that's less a list of banned options and more, we decided that we're gonna do a fun, silly little gimmick.
Yeah, you came up with that in session 0 to make sure that everybody was on the same page.
Which is super fun, by the way. I love gimmick campaigns. I was in a campaign once where we were all related to each other, even if only distant. We were all half siblings to each other. And while that game didn't last very long, I had fun with it. You know, we were all technically siblings. Yeah, gimmick is definitely different from ban list, both in the why and in the what.
Mm-hmm.
Shutting down optimization. Those GMs where it's like, no min-maxing. It's like, well, how do we even define that? Like, can I not put my biggest number in the stat that would be the best for me? Is that too much? The thing is, they're always so ambiguous with it, too, the people who do this. Where they're like, I don't want to see any munchkins. And, like, they glare at you if you pick a race that happens to be very good with the class that you picked.
Or play an Aarakocra.
I have a problem with Aarakocra for a different reason. They just ruin campaigns, at least in 5e.
Yeah, that's where we start to get into the point of, like, that's very obvious optimization at that point.
Yeah, no, but it's like, well, let's watch a little bit.
Super, super concerned.
This actually does lend itself to our next point, which is a dungeon master continuing to say no. But in this case, if a dungeon master is shutting down certain play styles and is using terms like metagaming or power building, but specifically they are saying that they will punish players who do this, or that it is not tolerated at their table. Now, there are a number of opinions out there on metagaming and power gaming, but what's difficult is that this has become a massive gray area. A player who knows the rules well and picks optimal choices for their character is not necessarily power gaming or metagaming. It is very possible to play a powerful, well-designed character and still have a great time role-playing and contributing to the game. The reason why this is a red flag for me is because it is unclear what a dungeon master who says, I don't allow metagaming or power building at my table and you will be punished if you do so. It's unclear to me exactly what that means. If I choose Great Weapon Master or Sharpshooter for my character, am I going to be punished or told that I can no longer play at the table?
Yeah, because it's like, where does the line between just building well and power gaming start? Especially for someone who's willing to be like, I'll punish you if you do it.
Oh, the way that I look at so like outright punishing, yeah, it's kind of dumb. But like I had one GM who their stance was like, yeah, if you want to metagame, just make sure that and power game, just make sure that you understand that those options are available to me too.
Yeah, which I feel like that's the fun way, you know? Kind of like how Zakaric is planning a 3.5 campaign for the lot of us. And it's like, you're gonna have a lot of tools at your disposal, but so am I. And I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
See, I feel like the distinction is that Aarakocra aren't strong. They remove a large number of GM options. Flight doesn't make you swole, but now gravity is just a non-issue. Yeah, it's just like, oh no, the ground gave out beneath our feet. Oh no, the Aarakocra's still in the air. He's fine.
Yep.
It's like, oh no, there's a big wall. Okay, I'm just gonna fly over the big wall. And look.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems with the new 1D&D coming out, is like there's more.
There's
like
more flight?
7 different races that have a fly speed
No!
at level 1.
No, did they learn nothing? Of course they didn't. Of course they learned nothing. No. God fucking damn. I think it's a question between making challenges easier and getting to ignore them. Yeah.
Well, there are like some players and GMs out there that will think that if you're looking at statistics as a way to like affect how you're building your character, that's metagaming.
Don't do drugs, kids. Crack is whack.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. And yeah, it's like I'm someone who loves a good story and loves roleplay. And even I think that kind of stance is dumb bullshit.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna want to, like, as a player, I'm gonna want to make sure that I am capable of hitting majority of the checks that I might have to make with certain skills or abilities or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's like, so D&D or 3.5 has a feat that's called skill focus, which if you take it gives you an additional +3 in that skill. Some people will say that that's a metagame option too, because it's like, oh, you're just wanting to take that so that you can roll this check better, and it's like, well, yeah, no shit, that's the reason it's there.
Yeah, it's okay to want to learn want to roll well and get the big numbers. Yeah, wanting your character to be competent is not metagaming. Also, yes, I put on some angel wings. I wanted to make fun of flying characters, I guess. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people, especially people who pride themselves on being roleplay people, I used to be guilty of this mindset, which is why I'm bringing it up. They hear metagaming and power gaming, and they very easily mistake that for desiring competency.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just go off the deep end. And I just realized this is AI generated too. God shitting damn it.
The music or the image?
The image. Okay, this one for sure.
If it's just a basic background, it's whatever, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no. I just the more I was staring at it, the more it was pissing me off. But yeah. What makes you say that it's AI? Okay, we're gonna have a lesson. Okay.
Oh boy.
I'm skipping ahead. But yeah, look at the snowflakes. The inconsistency of the lines here. This object, not even sure what it's supposed to be. And kind of like the lines of this aren't where they're supposed to be. But mainly the snowflakes. It's mainly the snowflakes that tipped me off. I'm an RP fanatic, and even I always make sure my characters are good at what they do. Yeah, the thing is, it's not metagaming to want your characters to be competent.
Well, so what ends up happening for GMs that are like, I don't want any metagaming, what happens with that is that they hear like of some kind of like weird bullshit build. Like so 3.5 is most. Yeah, pun is exactly what I was about to bring up, because what you can do, the way that works is basically just maxing out your knowledge, the planes, as high as you can, so that you can easily make a DC 25 check on it to know that you can summon Pazuzu in the same way that you would summon Beetlejuice. And what you do is you ask for a candle of invocation that allows you to summon a noble Ifriti, which can give you 3 wishes. And what you wish for is a +1 weapon, stat boost, and a candle of invocation.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that if the second candle of invocation then summons another noble genie that can cast another 3 wishes, if the GM isn't prepared for that to happen, that's when shit can kind of go off the rails. Because that what really comes down to is like, oh, I don't want metagaming and power gaming, is that it's the idea that's like, oh, I don't want to be blindsided by some random rules bullshit that somebody else knows.
Yeah. And then they go so overboard with it
Mm-hmm.
because they see too much as the beginning of Pun Pun, and it's like, no, you don't and not to mention, a lot of people forget that you as the GM, you could just say no. You could just say stop that. You could tell people to fuck off. You could tell people to leave.
Yep.
You have that power. And that's another bad thing I think 5e has done, is it's defanged GMs and taken a lot of power away from them. So they feel like they can't say no. They feel like they're the sacrificial lamb. And it's just like, no, you can say no. If it's ruining your fun and the fun of everyone else at the table, you can tell them to knock that shit off. If you're concerned, talk to your players. As Coffee said.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if someone's so concerned about gaming to the point where they're like doing this kind of shit, I don't trust that.
Oh man, and I'm gonna let you know, I would be a terrible player when it comes to that too. Because if it's like I had a GM who's like, yeah, I'm not gonna allow any power gaming. All right, I would immediately jump into, okay, then he's not allowed to play a cleric, they're not allowed to play a druid, and they're not allowed to play a wizard.
Oh my god, yeah. Because the thing is, you and I both know a lot of people who are very good at certain classes.
I hate to point myself.
I made the mistake of not talking to my players once and have made the campaign fall apart. Yeah. Communication. 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 The 3 C's of a good game. Speaking of communication, this next one concerns a lack of it. Surprise house rules!
Oh boy, here we go.
I think that for me, house rules are great. This is again why we go back to the very first red flag. Did you have a session 0 to discuss house rules? If you didn't discuss house rules in session 0, and you're playing the game, and you cast a spell, or use an ability, or try to do something that you understand in the game a certain way, and all of a sudden the Dungeon Master says, oh no, we do that differently here. You roll a 1 on your attack, and you go, oh darn. And then the DM suddenly pulls out the fumble table that you didn't know existed, rolls, and goes, oh, you chopped off your teammate's head, and they have to roll up a new character, and you lose. You're now chaotic evil. Your alignment has changed. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I wasn't prepared for that. And to me, that's an extreme example. I'm obviously exaggerating a little bit, but these surprise house rules can be really jarring and really diminish your playing at the table.
I think it can just be as simple as the Dungeon Master ruling that a spell that you thought worked one way works another way. And
I've actually run into this one as well.
Yeah, I actually talk about this problem a lot. Because it's like, if you show up to a table, I'm very much against house ruling in general, but that's less to do with there are some things in a system that I know and I hear people talk about being broken to the point that it needs to be house ruled away in some cases. And in that point, then I sort of show up and it's like, hey, I know this rule is broken. How do you guys handle it? But it's like, if I show up to a table with the expectation of this is how the rules work, and then I build my character that way, and then I don't find out until the middle of the game how the DM runs that stuff. It's like, well, I built my character to be able to do this, and now the way that you've changed these rules has either made it more powerful or less powerful, or not even an option available to me.
Yeah, people have done this with lore, too. In systems where the lore is heavily tied to the system itself. High, Exalted, a GM that ruled that a tribe of peace lovers turned into, horrible people, let's just say.
Because of one word.
Because of one word that he grossly misinterpreted. Yeah, no, I almost didn't play Exalted again after that. I was almost like, fuck this, I'm selling meth.
Well, yeah, it's like I wasn't part of that game, but you were telling me about it after the fact, and I was like, that's dumb. They clearly don't understand how this works in setting. Especially since, like, at that point I had known more about the lore than that GM at that point, despite the fact that, like, he was very, oh yeah, I completely know this, and it's like,
no, you don't.
Dude, I'm running circles around you with lore.
Yeah, but this was the guy that I'm calling Jared Fogley in my D&D horror story script, and Vit knows why.
Mm-hmm.
And the one who has no spine and no creativity, and dude, your fetishes are showing. All in one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he just really wanted to have that event happen the way it happened. And then he kept rubbing it in, too, because, like, the god of warfare came over, like, horrible warfare, and doing war crimes, came up to my character who considered herself a good person, and was like, hey, you're my new bestie. And meanwhile, I'm like, my entire character arc has just gone out the window and into the trash.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you made a mistake, and that's a good thing.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, no, you made a mistake and forced it on me. Yeah, which is, I feel like this one could have been lumped in with the No Session Zero, sort of, kind of. Because it's like, you gotta put all your shit on the table. Let people know what kind of games you run, what kind of weird house rules you have. I'm a bit more kind towards house rules, but only if it doesn't, like, semi-dramatically alter the game, because the rules exist for a reason. And I've come to find that out the hard way. The rules exist the way they do, usually for a reason, and usually they play with another set of rules in a certain way. And so when you make a change, you have to know what you're doing, or else you're gonna set up a domino effect that is just gonna completely spill over and ruin a whole bunch of other rules.
Right.
And so if the GM doesn't let you know of a really weird, especially a really weird house rule, like adding a weird fumble table to something that previously didn't have a fumble table, I would question if they're on crack.
Yeah, like the game that I was going to get involved in previously, like there's like this well-known house rule set for Pathfinder called Elephant in the Room. And so the way that it works is that it's basically, yeah, we think that fee taxes are bullshit, so this is what we've done, is that we've oversimplified everything down to this whole thing. And it's like, on the one hand, like, the way that certain classes are built, like, the fee taxes don't give a shit, but it's like, but the problem that I had with it, and the reason why I eventually told him not to go with it, was the fact that it takes away what makes the fighter such an interesting choice to take in the first place, by basically simplifying all of these feats down to the point where it's like, oh, well, anybody who can pick up a sword can now do this stuff. It's like the wizard should not be able to do the same feats of combat that the fighter can.
Yeah.
Like that was like the most obvious example that I pointed to.
Things only work so long as everyone is playing the same game. You're telling me. It also is just more fun in general, because combat goes smoother, everything goes smoother and faster, so you can get to the fun parts and zoom past the not so fun parts.
Yeah, it's like one person's playing Minecraft and everybody else is playing Roblox.
And then one guy in the corner is playing Terraria. And it's the G out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, what is the next one? Told what to play. This one's also happened to me.
Different than what we're talking about.
Yeah, I try to
I think
like.
that as we continue,
I actually have an issue with this too because it's like I always have to catch myself from doing this all the time.
Yeah, this one's super easy to fall into, is the thing. Like, not all of these are like, you're the scum of the earth if you do it. Some of them are like, just little traps you can fall into. And just be like, oh, we don't have an XYZ. You should be XYZ when somebody new joins, and it's like, nope, stop that. Stop it.
My issue is that because I got burnt on it and like I'm trying not to keep myself from doing it, is that I have a very bad habit of not telling players, hey, this is a thing that you should like consider taking for your character because it's kind of important to the overall game, because I don't want to be in that standpoint of telling a person what to do or how they should be enjoying the game.
Yeah, but it, like, unless they ask, then at that point, like, the floodgates are opened. But because I remember I started getting to a point where, especially with you and Vit, where I was like,
I'm Vit.
yeah, that's what I said. Oh shit, you and Zakaric. I'm very tired. The snow is giving me dumb brain.
You're fine.
But yeah, you and Zakaric, where me and Coffee had to go up to you two and be like, we love you both, but unless we want to build our characters a certain way, keep a hold of your advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I do ask for advice on occasion. Not often, but occasionally I'll be like, what should I do here? But like, there's nothing wrong with needing help and asking for it, but giving unsolicited, like, especially forcing it, especially with new players. Mm-hmm. And it's always with clerics too.
Well, the thing that I want to bring up is, like, as a player, like, yeah, that can be very degrading when you have another player telling you how to play, and like, I refuse to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, so on the one hand, it's like I'll occasionally like offer up, hey, the fun rule that works with that is this, if you want to consider taking it. But yeah, as Coffee said,
mm-hmm. There's a world of a difference between the two, and not to mention it completely disregarding what the player wants to do, because it's a tale as old as time. New player comes in, is like, I want to join your game. And they're like, cool, we don't have a healer, be a cleric. And another funny thing, I was like, they should have mentioned how, like, not only clerics can heal, and then I unpause the video and they start talking about, well, not only clerics are healers, like, paladins have healing abilities, druids have healing abilities, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my god.
Bards have healing abilities.
Bards? Yeah, they brought up bards. I brought up Coffee brought up paladins. But yeah, it's like, if they want to play a healer, that's fantastic. But if they want to play a barbarian and you tell them to play a healer, you're an asshole.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we don't have a healer. Motherfucker, I'm an artificer over here. I brew cure potions like it's nothing.
Fucking warlocks can have healing capabilities. That's another thing. That's another problem I have. Too many people can heal.
Oh, in 5e, yeah.
In 5e, yeah, no. In 5e, too many people can do too many things. Everybody's special and therefore nobody's special. Bro, we can just take slightly more naps. It's like, or we could, actually do resource management. What a shocker. I say this as someone who loves resource management games, though. I fucking aced Cat Cafe Simulator. Fucking aced it.
Another big red flag for me, which can happen from the DMs, or in this case, the players as well. If you're joining a new game, and you are told which class to play, That is an immediate red flag to me, and this one is actually probably the one I hear most commonly. I've seen this actually on our cleric video where people are saying, hey, I am joining a new game and I'm told that I have to play a cleric, so here I am to learn. And I'm always like, why were you told you had to play a cleric?
Yeah.
It's this opinion that, oh, you're joining our party. Well, we don't have a healer yet, so you're going to be the healer. Or we already have a fighter, so you can't play one. D&D is such an open-ended game.
Yeah.
If you have a champion fighter with a sword and shield and a battle master fighter with a bow, those two players are not going to be playing the same character.
Honestly, I don't even have a problem with 2 players.
It's even more prolific in previous editions, whereas in D&D 5e, there's only like a handful of decent classes, let's be real. Whereas in 3.5, you could have 3 fighters. You could have a party of 5 fighters, and they could all be so wildly different that they would be unidentifiable as each other.
Oh yeah, no, like I'm not gonna talk about who this was, but we have a mutual friend who was complaining about how they got kicked out of a game because one person, or because the GM was like, "Oh, we already have somebody playing this, so you can't play that."
Yeah.
And like it's really dumb.
You know, especially because the thing they wanted to do was so diverse that the two of them could have both done it and been totally different and not step on each other's toes at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh
This-
man, sorry, that reminded me. I had one player in a 3.5 game a while back so I was playing a rogue, and I was the only one who actually had the ability to disable traps and what have you. And every time the opportunity came up, this guy would he's playing a paladin, he would just storm up and would go, "Hey, no, that's not how you do it," and then would just try to make the roll himself. It's like, dude, you are not the fucking main character. Stop trying to do literally everything.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people and a lot of designers want player characters to be able to do everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a game design problem. It's exploding the power levels of the game.
Mm-hmm.
No information about the setting. I feel like this one could also have been tied into no session 0, so I'm not gonna go too much into this one. This one I will, though. Last minute dropouts.
The table, and the first red flag for
Oh
me
yeah, I've been
is
that
people
person.
who are canceling constantly last minute. Now,
Yeah.
the key word here is last minute or unannounced. They just don't show up.
Yeah.
I know that schedules are hard. My group right now hasn't played in a month because there were various life things going on. There were birthdays, there was family, whatever. We haven't played in over a month. We're going to be playing again soon. Schedules happen. It's tough. In my group, we're all adults. We all have lives. It's tough. But what I don't love is if I invited them to the game of D&D, they all said they could make it, and then suddenly one of my players doesn't make it. Obviously, if there was an emergency,
Yes.
if I got a phone call and it's like, I had to rush to the hospital for X, Y, or Z, then by all means, I'm not going to be upset. But if somebody just doesn't show up and then they're like, oh, sorry, I forgot, that's a red flag. If somebody continuously, every time that we're about ready to play and the other people are already on their way over, and then I get a text message being like, I can't make it. And it's like, well, this is the 3rd time in a row. Now I have 3 people coming over and one person who just canceled. Red flag.
And this can be one of those problems that
And I've had a lot of experience with a lot of really egregious examples of that. The worst one was, I will not name this person at all. We'll just call them Teal, like the color. So we would go over to Teal's house. Most of us having had to drive there at least half an hour, some of us more. some of us even lived super nearby. Yeah, no, one of Coffee Bean's ex-roommates, and he would come out last minute. We all have our sheets and dice out, and he'd be like, I don't feel like running game today. Can you all get out of my house? And it's like, but, like, we
Even worse than that would be the one time, the couple times where it's like we're on time and we're waiting in their house.
Yeah, in their house, and then they text
and
somebody.
Well, not even just that. Like, they would wait until like 2 hours after we're supposed to start, and then be like, "Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen today. Sorry, bye."
Yeah, no, and then so we all wasted a metric shitload of time. Just, and they would do this pretty frequently to the point where it kind of became a meme in our group among everyone else on whether or not they were going to actually run their session or if they were going to kick us all out. And it's just like, scheduling,
especially when it's their game they're running.
Yeah, their game at their house. And it's just like, I understand bad mental health days. Yeah, it really I understand bad mental health days, but at the very least, what I do if I suddenly can't run a game is I'll just be like, hey, let's hang out. Let's just talk. Let's just spend time with each other. So at the very least, we have some decent friend hangout time, and we get something out of the experience. Even if it's not the game. But no, he was always just be like, get the fuck out. Go home. Fuck off. Even to the people that lived there.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like, hey, you're in my living room, disperse. And it's like, but we live here.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, it's like, it's an extra disrespectful to the people who lived there. And it's just like, that is a huge red flag. I feel like it's one of the bigger red flags. I feel like it deserved a spot earlier in the video, but that's just me. Because I've been burned by this particular flag so many times that the second I see it, my blood starts to boil.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do this. Just try not to do this. If you have if your brain's suddenly the bad, that's one thing, but like,
at the very least, if it's gonna be constant, just drop it.
Yeah,
and
no.
like be upfront with everybody.
Yeah, be upfront, say, I don't think I can keep with this commitment. My whatever is too bad, and I don't want to drag the rest of you guys down. You all will have to carry on without me. I'm very sorry. Because if it gets to the point where your players are memeing on whether or not you will even be there. I remember we had one player briefly who scheduled 24-hour streams night before game and then seemed surprised he was tired and couldn't make it the next day. Yeah. I remember that guy.
Man, nobody liked that guy.
Nobody liked that guy. Even the person who invited that guy to the table. Even the guy who invited that guy to the table, and he did a 24-hour stream for a bunch of Fortnite-loving 12-year-olds. It's like,
I have other reasons for not liking that guy, but I'm not going to get into it here because this isn't the topic
irrelevant. And it's just like, if you know you have, that's another thing that I have for just life in general. If you know you have a commitment to tabletop games, yes, but if you have a commitment to your friends and loved ones, just try to keep up with it and not tank yourself the night before. If you actually like those people, like if you hate your mom, you have my permission to get drunk the day before. You have to show up to her birthday party or whatever. You just show up hungover. Be trashy. But if you actually like your friends and your family, try to keep your commitments. Try to keep your word, your promises. If you say, I'm gonna be there and we're gonna do X, and show up, don't fuck yourself.
To be honest, I like this is kind of like a toxic sort of thing. So I understand that doesn't work for everyone, but I make sure that people have an understanding that my game is the game that I'm either playing or running is a higher priority than what anybody else that I know has going on. Unless it's like an extreme emergency, I have to be there for something.
Yeah, no, because it's like, if you're really passionate about something, you make time for it. And it's okay to have like a certain level of commitment to tabletop gaming in general. Some people have a higher level of commitment, and that's, I feel like, another thing that'd be great to bring up at session 0 is just like, what's your level of commitment to this? How fucking deep in the pit are you? How much does this mean to you? And so that way everybody can like plan and react accordingly. Wow, it's amazing what a little communication will fix. Golly gee whiz.
Well, and this is a character story, so I'm not gonna like co-opt a whole lot of it, but he actually brought that up at a session 0 one time. It was like, this is like, if you're going to be committing to this game, I need sort of like a 100% sort of you will be here no matter what. And all of them had agreed, yeah, this is going to be like the number 1 on our slate. And literally that was session 0. The first 3 times that he tried to schedule the session 1, they all canceled for various reasons. None of them even remotely acceptable to that sort of like emergency level sort of deal.
I tend to have the mindset of real life comes first, no exceptions, but if nothing's stopping them, I feel like a DM can expect players to be there most, if not all of the time. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you say you're gonna do X, do X. Don't be a flake. Stay true to your word. Don't be a fucking liar. Because then you waste everybody's time. Include your own players. That's just basic communication, and you'd be surprised how many people fuck that up.
Yeah, it's like, well, and like in the one issue with Zakaric's game is like I think the first session there were 2 players that canceled, and it was mostly because they didn't have transportation out there. But it was a last minute, and the worst part about it was that if they had let anybody know sooner,
then they could have come and get them.
Well, one of the other players was actually like super on board with the idea of just going to pick them up, and that, to the point that they actually offered to do that the next week. And then the next week came, and it's like, yeah, we don't want to show up because we just don't want to leave the house. And like that was super upsetting for Zakaric too, because it's like he had been promised by everybody that they had a higher commitment to the game.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Weather getting really spooky out here? Oh, not us. Over here, it's nice and cozy, actually. A little bit windy, sure, but I've been enjoying the snow. But yes, irrelevant. Stick to your goddamn word. And yes, this next one. Table vibe.
Something that you're tolerant of.
Again, none of these by themselves might be the red flag that breaks it for you. It's really about reading the situation. And I think, speaking of reading the situation, as we move on to the next point, which is about the vibe at the table.
Yeah.
And this is one that is hard to quantify, but I can tell you that I have joined a table where I am laughing and getting along with everybody. I've also joined a table where I'm like, I'm not getting along with these people. And it's not that they're necessarily being mean or rude. It's just that we're not clicking. And that might be enough, especially if you have 3 or 4 of these other red flags going on, and you're also like, I would not hang out with these people outside of this table. That might be a red flag for you to say, hey, this isn't the right group for me. For me,
yeah, that's a big thing that I feel like a lot of people don't get. If you wouldn't hang out with those people outside of the game, maybe don't commit to a game with them.
I actually have a fun anecdote for this one.
Oh, yes, do continue.
So this was a Vampire the Masquerade game. So Old World of Darkness.
Mhm.
And so what had happened is I had joined this game, and this. Keep in mind, this is back when I had that my fiance at the time, where the two of us were gaming together, and the thing that happened was so I made a character, and so did she. Like we were sort of like joining a game mid session or mid run, and when the GM was trying to introduce our characters, the like my fiance's character got introduced like not even at the session that we first showed up, but the second session, and my character didn't show up for another 3 beyond that, and that was because they had like anytime the game started up, it's like they had a 5-hour block that they would be playing, and only 1 hour of game time would actually happen because the other 4 were just them bullshitting with random tangents. And it's like none of them actually wanted to be focused on the game. Became like this is a social hangout, and oh, there happens to be a rule book nearby.
Yeah, one of those. I love to shoot the shit, but you know what else I love? Actually playing the damn game.
Mm-hmm. And it's like one of them was like, "Hey, I've got a YouTube video that actually relates to this," and then it wouldn't even be like everybody didn't want to do, or it wasn't that he was interrupting. It's that everybody was suddenly, "Oh yeah, let's turn that on," and then they would watch that, and it was like, "Oh, I have another video that relates to this. We should watch that one now." And it's like, guys, I came here to play a game, and
I would have an aneurysm if I was at a table that happened at. I would.
Yeah, I sat there being involved with that for a month, and I should have fucking left sooner.
Like, I love hanging out, but, like, just hang out.
Yeah.
Just hang out.
And like that was the thing that bothered me is like I brought that up, and it's like, well, this is the only time that we get to hang out, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go then. So
yeah, it's like, then make some dedicated hangout time. Maybe do like halvesies, like kind of like how we do on Wednesday, where we'll like do like an hour or 2 of like talking and shooting the shit, and then the rest of the evening will be for the game, and then a little bit after the game we'll like talk a little bit more. But have a dedicated time and a place for all the shit you want to do, because if you try to mix the two, you're just gonna dilute your game to the point where there is no game.
yeah.
But yeah, there's just, if your guts tell you to hit the bricks, hit the bricks. I should have done that with my first game, because the players were constantly fighting over every little thing, and there were like 11 players at the table. So everybody was like constantly fighting just to be heard. We even had to set up like a little turn to speak thing, and because of it, everybody who was later along in the thing basically never got a chance to roleplay, because everybody else already did everything. And then a bunch of people would break the turns and cause more anarchy, so yeah, just no game is better than a bad game. Trust me. And also, yeah, make it clear if that's what you're doing from the get-go. Don't be like, oh yeah, we're gonna play a game and we're gonna take it seriously, if you're not gonna take it seriously. Because then the people who aren't taking it seriously are going to feel very sad. Be clear about your intentions and you will find other like-minded individuals and things will go smoother. Wow, what a concept! You'd be shocked the amount of people who don't get that.
Oh, I just remember the one time I had an Exalted player who was like, he got involved despite the fact that we had set the precedent that there was going to be a lot of like heavy role play and backstory
I remember
exploration
that
and
guy.
whatnot. And like his character was just, I'm here to blow stuff up. I don't want to do anything else.
Yeah, he literally. We had to pull teeth to get him to, like, talk
Mm-hmm.
to people?
And it's like, even when I was like, hey, here's an element of your backstory that I've introduced into the campaign. You should latch on to that. And he's like, yeah, that's neat. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all he said. He
Yep.
didn't engage with it. Oh my god.
Not even a hi, hey, how you doing? How you doing? I'm doing just fine. I lied. I'm dying inside. Just. It sucks when you throw something out there for a player and they don't play ball.
Especially since this is a person who like prided himself on being in heavy roleplay, and it's like, no, dude, you're just like he would talk about his LARP and how he's a flurb for those who don't know, a flurb is somebody who's like high into the idea of making a story for their character, and it's like no, you're not a flurb, you're just a very flourishy stick jock.
Yeah, no, I remember that guy. Fuck that guy.
Yep. Although I have new reasons to hate him, and we're not going to talk about it here.
Oh yeah, no, this is strictly gonna be about the game. And what I can tell from his behavior in the game is not good. But yeah, was that everything? Oh, inappropriate behavior, but I don't think we need to go over that one too much. Don't be a jackass at your table. Don't say slurs. Don't fucking make another player feel uncomfortable. I trust you guys. I trust you, chat. Hold up, I'll be right back. I need to go grab some more water. My throat is once again the big dry. Beans and cornbread.
More eggnog.
Leg. Nog. But yeah, that was it of that video. Again, if you want to watch it uninterrupted, I have shown you how to get there. But, it turns out that I've been in a lot of dog shit games when I look back on it. Or even games that were good, but were marred by, like, really dog shit behavior. So, because it is the holidays, and the holidays have a lot of red and green, we've talked a lot about red flags. Talk about some green flags. Gotta round out the Christmas season with both those colors. Ignoring silver and gold, because I don't even know what a fucking silver and gold flag would look like.
Gold flag is like, hey, this is my absolute legend of a friend. Forget just this guy gives me good vibes. He's number one.
Aww, what about a silver flag?
Silver flag is, yeah, put this guy in my top 10.
There you go, we got gold silver flag from the coffee bean. But yes, one of my personal top green flags is when I go into a game or I go into a table and they want to know my vibes. They want to know if I can vibe with them and they can vibe with me. They want to know if we all can get along, which is really, really good, because you should not go into a game with people that you wouldn't at least be willing to have a casual hangout with, in my opinion. And so the fact that they're on the same wavelength as me and they're like, we want to know if you fit with us, that's already a good start. That's a good start. It's like, okay. Okay, I see you. You see me. We're on the same wavelength here.
Green flag that I like to see is when I'm introduced. This is especially if I'm introducing someone to a new system, and they come back to me and they've read a decent for some players it's like as long as they know how to play the game is great, but it's like it's on another level when somebody comes back and they're like, hey, I have a whole bunch of questions about like these specifically niche cases in these rules, and I'm like, okay, cool, you super read the books.
Oh my god, yes. I aspire to eventually become one of those kinds of players, which it should be easier for me now that I have my tablet, so like on the go I can just study a rule book just in my spare time and not have to deal with the fiddliness of a tiny little phone screen. But yeah, I hope to become one of those because I want to have a better understanding of the systems I'm playing. Because I want to empower myself to make better choices in games, make better characters, and to need to ask for help less.
Oh, sorry, that green flag actually just reminded me of a red flag.
Yeah.
So the one thing, I was just reminded of the few times where it's like the rules lawyer in me sort of came about because I had to deal with so many GMs where they would just kind of like make up bullshit rules.
Oh yeah.
Especially like I've had a few campaigns where it's like the GM was absolutely in the player versus GM mentality to the point where it's just like the like all of us were playing in this guy's sort of like Star Wars fan fiction.
The Star Wars.
And yeah, the rest of us were just there.
Yeah.
And it's like anytime we tried to do anything, we were immediately told, no, you can't. So, and they would be like, yeah, like you can't because of this rule that's in this other rule book. And then for me, they got to that point where it's just like, I realized that they had been making up bullshit rules. Because it's like, hey, jackass, I have the entirety of every book that was printed for this system to know that you're spouting some bullshit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like rules lawyers get a little bit of a bad rep. Because sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes they'll save your ass. Sometimes a good rules lawyer will go to bat for you too. And not just make life worse for you, which is what I usually see people give as the example of a rules lawyer, like the actually guy.
Yep.
So what another green flag of mine is they're a rules lawyer, but they're a homie about it. They'll go to bat for you. They'll help you out. Then they make the game better with their knowledge of the rules. They're the good kind of rules lawyer.
They're also very much on the understanding of being hands-off when rule of cool is applied.
Oh yeah, no, because I feel like a little bit of rule of cool is nice. But some people go too far with it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love rule of cool, but I've been burned by too many instances where people cite that as a reason for them to make a dumb decision that ended up negatively impacting the party both in and out of the game.
That's not rule of cool.
That's
like
not
that. No, when I refer to like being hands off for the rule of cool, it's the idea of like the player describes something that they want to do, and the GM at that point the GM either has to come up with some kind of like they'll either shoot that down because it doesn't fit in the rules, or it sounds so brilliant that like he doesn't want to disallow it because of just how cool it sounds.
Yeah, I've been in instances like that.
where it's just like, oh my god, I shouldn't allow that, but I'm going to because it sounds fucking awesome.
I've been in those. I actually did one of those where I was like, can I spend all of my spell points to nuke this entire army? Like, I won't have any for the rest of the day, but it'd be pretty fucking sick. A big green flag for me is consent. Like, not just hashing out triggers and such at the start, but actively asking other players, hey, I want to do X with my influence more than my own character. Are you guys alright with this? Yeah, this is a big thing where in my games, I ask people, hey, what are like some themes that you don't want to see and themes that you do want to see? Or themes that you're just okay with, like red, green, yellow, all those colors, orange, turquoise. And I'm like, so here are the topics that I will absolutely not be covering and I'm not willing to cover because they make me feel too bad as the game master. What about you guys? What is in your no pot? And what's in your yes pot? Like little buckets. But they got little... I don't know why I came up with just a bit... I'm all over the place. The snow was giving me bimbo brain.
There is no I in team. However, there are 6 eyes in I don't care how big the room is, I said I cast Fireball.
Oh yeah, there are 6 eyes in there. But yeah, it's like, I feel like it's really important to also establish with your players, it's like, because there are some parties where there are some darker topics that they're all okay with exploring at least a little bit, and some that are totally off the table. So I feel like knowing where your party lies with that sort of thing is so important, and also leads to really fucking good roleplay. Because coffee, cover your ears. Wait, is...
I kind of can't. I'm making sandwich.
Okay, fair enough. I'll wait till you're out of the room. Because it's a spoiler for our Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign. And I don't want to ruin the surprise for Coffee Bean again!
Isn't he watching?
Oh. Thwarted once again by my boyfriend's own love of me.
Sorry, I got really hungry.
You're good! Also, something I like is
Nah,
when
it's fine.
GMs do is asking the players what character arc they want for their character. I do like that. I do like that a lot.
I take a strange approach to that because it's like I sort of a lot of times I don't even really need to ask what arc that they're going for. It'll come up a lot when they're in their character building and asking questions and like the session 0 for what they want to do.
Yeah, no.
Um,
I like to advertise mine like a big neon sign.
mhm.
Like, I'll just be like, oh yeah, so my character's gone through this and it's really impacted her, and that's basically a big neon sign for ask me about my XYZ.
Mhm.
Or include this theme in the campaign, please. But it's... Okay, not subtle. Subtle is the wrong word. I'm failing. The human... Indirect! There we go. The human thesaurus that is my brain is failing me. But Coffee Bean isn't.
Mhm.
Luckily, I am.
Um,
Chatterbox. Well, okay, that's the line. But I pick my words very carefully. I have to go on.
yeah, I have the same problem, but I always have issues where it's like I know the word that I want to say, but I can't figure out how to say it.
Yeah, I have the opposite problem where my mouth goes ahead of my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I have to loop back around. A lot.
Yeah. That's the sort of the problem I have where it's just like, damn it, I thought the word, and now that my brain has moved too far gone that I can't actually say the word I was thinking.
Yeah.
But so one of the things I was actually going to mention with like with the consent and the triggers thing, I sort of actually run into like a red light, yellow light thing where it's just like, hey, what if something what is something that you dislike but don't have a problem interacting with, and what is something that you dislike that you absolutely do not want to be involved.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say earlier, but I probably bungled it. But yes, I fully agree. Like, things where it's like, I don't like it, but I'm willing to, like, several layers of, like, don't like it, don't include it, don't like it, but I'll tolerate it. I kind of like it, but like, different layers, and, like, establishing all of that with your players, it's kind of fucking essential.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Mr. Bane?
Alright, here's what I am willing to discuss but not depict, and here's what I'm not even willing to discuss.
Yeah. Because there's some things that I don't even want brought up in my games. They put my head in too bad of a space. And some things where it's like, it's a little bit fucked up, but I'll be fine. And so I try to make these things known, where it's like, okay, we might be talking about X, but we definitely won't talk about Y. But yeah,
I remember.
Oh,
I
you
remember
go.
one. Yeah, I had this one player one time who incorporated. So he incorporated something into his character. That wasn't even meant as like a big thing. It was just sort of like, hey, this is an element in the lore that's kind of fucked up that I kind of want to introduce to my character. And there was another player who, like, that was a big trigger for her, and I had to. I didn't know at the time. Like, that was the problems that they didn't get brought up in communication and whatnot. So it's like, when it happened, or when he showed up at the table, it's just like, man, it created like the biggest spark of conflict out of game, and it's just like, okay, hold the fuck up.
Yeah, this is why you gotta have a session 0, and not just for the sake of having one and saying you did it, like a little fucking checklist.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid shit like that. Because thankfully that has never happened to me, but I'm always afraid that it will. Because some of my triggers are actually shockingly common in media and conversations. To the point where I don't even watch like 90% of TV because I don't trust it to not randomly bring up one of the big 3 that sets me off. There's 3 of them. I won't name them because I don't want to give the trolls ammo. Good fucking luck, bitches. But
Is it Gaslight Gatekeep Girl Boss?
shit, he's onto me. No, it's Live, Laugh, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh god, that's even worse. If I show, that's how I let. Okay, so little side tangent, but it is related to tabletop gaming. I did have a Karen ghoul in my hunter game, and they showed up to her house, and they're like, "Does she have like an Eat, Pray, Love sign in her house?" And I'm like, "Yes," and it's a big metal sign, and it's the first thing you see when you come to the door, along with like several different crosses. And they're like, "God damn it."
Who cares if she has a photo of the Eiffel Tower catty corner to a photo of Audrey Hepburn outlining Christmas lights? Oh my god, how did you know?
How did you know that?
Because of course you do.
I love that video in defense of being basic. We were like, gotta kill her. Yeah, no, they brutally murdered her and stuffed her body in a closet. But it's okay because she was conspiring to kidnap and harm some children, so her death was justified. Yeah, that was the Rakshasa siege mission that my players recently went on. Basically, they fought a metric shitload of Rakshasa, and now that that arc is over, I have a confession to make. I've already told the party this, but I don't know if I've told chat this. I did not intend to put Rakshasa in the beginning, but then someone said, hey, it'd be cool if we were fighting Rakshasa, and I'm like, what a coincidence! because I was originally just gonna have them be like fucking shadow demons, but some of the shit lined up with their lore by total accident, so I just ran with it. I said, sure, it's Rakshasa now.
Is a warehouse just a house that transforms during the full moon?
It is now.
It is now.
Oh man, I should include a warehouse in that game sometime. Potentially. I gotta say potentially so Coffee Bean's not spoiled. I could not. Also, anyone else who might be here who is in that game. Because there's a couple people that could suddenly show up and get spoiled.
So another green flag that I want to bring up is from like the player perspective. Is so as a player, one of the things that I really like being involved in is like if there's a particular challenge to make us like really think outside the box for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Especially when the players are very much on board with the idea of puzzle solving as opposed to brute forcing shit.
I love puzzles and riddles, and I'm really bad at them, but I love them. Every time they're like, all right, there's a riddle we gotta solve, I like start hyperventilating a little bit and jumping up and down in my seat a little bit. It's just, ugh. I love being forced to use my goddamn meat brain in a game. It makes me really happy. Major green flag for sure. I remember one time, I hated the guy who did this, but he did have a good idea. He did have some good jamming ideas, and I hate that, but he brought out, hello Reptilian, we are talking about red and green flags in tabletop games. Anyway, so he brought out this big labyrinth cube that had like a puzzle all along the outside, and he's like, okay, you have 2 minutes to get from the start point to this end point. I fucking beasted that shit. I was just like, I was like an unstoppable maze solving freak. It was amazing. And I loved it. I loved the cube. I missed the cube.
A cube.
The cube! Watching the movies drunk with my mom. Oh my god.
The movie Dunkirk.
Oh! I thought you just really typoed the word drunk. Like, really badly. Like, I've seen people make worse typos. So, I thought nothing of it. I'm the stupid one. But yes, I love it when GMs show the right kind of passion for their game. And because there's a right kind. There is a right and a wrong kind. Because it's good to be excited about your game. And it's fantastic. And I love seeing a GM who's willing to put their heart and soul into a game. But I also like it when the GM is not just an ideas guy, but that you can tell they know where they're going with this. That they've done research and planning. Even if they're a pantser in terms of writing, you still gotta plan something and know where you're going and what your limitations are.
Another green flag is when a GM is like, I love this sort of idea where it's like a GM has fun if the players are having fun.
Yes. Huge green flag right there. Because I've actually met a few GMs who, nothing's worse than an adversarial GM who has the player versus GM mentality. Mm-hmm. Nothing's worse.
I will say this, I do have a hard time dealing with players who are just like obstinately stupid. And
you mean like Dave?
Oh man. No, well, not even just that. I'm talking about people where it's just like, I'm trying to give them the hint, hey, don't do this thing, without outright saying, don't do this thing.
Oh my god, yes. I've had to do that. I've had to be like, well, your character would know that if you eat this herb, you'll die, or just to give an example.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I'll just give freebies, especially if their skills line up or their character backstory lines up. Like, you're a trained assassin. You would know about... you shouldn't ingest that.
Yeah.
And it's... shocking amount of time. It's them... consumption.
Well,
it's not always about consumption, but sometimes it's about an odd number of time.
I've also had to deal with players where it's just like, hey, you can't do this because this restriction has come up. And what ends up happening is that they then derail the entire flow of the game, trying to come up with a way to get past that limitation.
Oh my god, I hate that. Those are the worst. It's like, I'm trying to stop you from doing that for a reason, dipshit.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember once having to ask you, hey, is this a bad idea or an idea that will outright get me killed? I do remember that. Because I don't hesitate. When a player is just like, hey, little immersion break moment, I'm not having a good time with this. Can you tell me, because I'm having a bad brain day, can you tell me if this is going to kill me or if this is just a really bad idea? And I was like,
yeah, and I gotta remind myself a lot of the times that an immersion break is fine if it helps the rest of the game going on.
Oh yeah, no. Like, I think we need to normalize just a little bit more immersion breaking, because there are some people who are just like, no immersion breaks ever, and it's like, no. A little bit of immersion breaks fine, especially when it's necessary for the health of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This was about me considering speaking a foreign language. Oh, I thought it was about something in the Hunter game. Oh yeah, I still need to find players for my vampire game. I have a really good concept for it. The only problem is finding players who don't have intense scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
Because if you think it's bad with normal people, you can only imagine how bad it is with VTubers.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
It's like playing on hard mode.
Yeah, so with the language example in L5R, the thing that I kept trying to hem and haw over the fact was like, it's not like there's nothing against you knowing a foreign language, but it was very much in that line of I don't want to say no, but I also know that that's not a good idea, but I also know that it's not a bad idea, but it's a whole bunch of different layers on top of it. So it's just like at some point I just had to hit the at some point we just had to hit the don't do that button.
BRB gonna become a VTuber to join Rose's game real quick. I will be having other games that don't necessarily have a VTuber requirement. It's just that this particular vampire one, it's gonna be a shorter one. Maybe like 5 sessions at the most. Just to get my feet in the water of GMing online, especially in front of an audience. And also, trying to get to know some other VTubers, because I keep seeing VTubers who are like, I want to play tabletop games. And the problem is when I approach them and their schedule is so conflicting from mine that it would be impossible to sneak them in without completely fixing everything on both sides.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was hoping on too with so technically the timing didn't work out on my end, because I was wanting to set one up where it was just like that Deadlands one shot with a whole bunch of VTubers for Halloween.
Deadlands.
But yeah, unfortunately that didn't manifest. but I got it in my back pocket for something in the future.
Yeah. Maybe this coming year. I keep saying next year, like next year isn't in like several days.
Yep, it's in 9 days.
I'm trying
In
too
fact.
hard not to think about that. The bane of TTRPGs. Yeah. It's the true final boss. Because you could find a great group, and you have some good times, and then shit just goes haywire with the scheduling, because all of a sudden 3 people will change jobs.
Hey, I'm thinking about starting up a tabletop RPG game. Why is there suddenly a boss health bar?
Hey, why do I hear boss music? I heard Coffee laugh in the other room. The real BBEG is Janice's day job. Oh god, especially with that one campaign, where like 3 or 4 people all had Walmart jobs with super inconsistent scheduling. That one was the fucking worst. The fact that we managed to play it all was nothing short of a miracle, and even then, that wasn't a really great miracle considering most of the people in that group were douchebags.
The fact that we played that game for a year.
Oh my god, you're right, we did play that game for a year. Oh my god. Best suck of my fucking life. Yeah, that was one of my favorites in terms of a character arcs, because that was the one where Hikari just kind of blossomed, which is a real shame because that storyline was wasted on those slobs.
Mm-hmm.
Pearls before swine. I lament that.
Like they tried to complain that was what was dragging the game down. It's like, I would have done the same amount of stuff for you guys if you actually did anything.
Right? Like, I remember you throwing them several bones, and they would just be like, oh, that's nice. I'm gonna go have sex with a lady that doesn't exist. Or, cool. I'm gonna adopt every orphan. For no reason.
Well, okay, they had their reasons. It's just that it was one of those things where it's like, they couldn't think of stuff to do with it aside from having it.
Fucking right. One day we will figure out how to play Exalted again without tearing our hair out. One day. I do
40.
like... I do like that setting. It's just... Man, those rules are made of fucking tissue paper.
Yep. No, that's a red flag when it comes to systems. If they've had corporate backdoor stuff that's been ruining shit.
Ah, yes. It's not like I have any specific examples in mind.
D&D. I mean, what?
It's not like I have any specific examples in mind. None whatsoever. None. 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 No examples. Mid-book change in design teams is poison to playability. Oh, is that what happened with Exalted 3rd Edition?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that's... At that point, just scrap it and start over.
Oh, that's essentially what happened with the Infernals in 2E.
You know what? That makes sense. The Infernals were kind of fucking weird champ. And that's saying... They're supposed to be weird champ, but not that much.
Mm-hmm.
Green flag in systems is when... I personally like it when systems be like, hey, here's the kind of feel that would be good for our system. Like, certain themes and certain media that have a similar feel to games in our system. Yes, I'm looking at White Wolf systems being like, here are some of our inspirations for Let's say Changeling the Lost, just to give a random example. I need to run a Changeling game. I think I'd be quite good at it.
L5R actually has a number of books that, well, not just even books, but like it references like one of the things it even says like just watch an Akira Kurosawa film, any of them.
Yeah. Green flag and systems for me. When the system goes, here's what players do. Clarify that, because I'm not sure I'm smelling what you're selling, but I would like to. Generally, you sell some pretty good stuff. Love when systems are clear about what games they're good for. Big, just big, yes. That's why I'm in love with Deadlands so much, because it has a certain feel. It has a very specific flavor, and it tells you what that specific flavor is. And
Hello, Coffee.
so you could just go, oh, hello!
Hi. Sorry, I was typing this or fuzzy in my head, so I'm going to be trying my best, and that requires me to speak instead of type.
You're good.
So, a notable problem in I still got that old food. Whatever. I'm not going to be here long enough to be worth changing it. Anyway,
Valid.
basically, how should I put this? There are a lot of systems where the issue is effectively they've designed a world, but they haven't figured out how the players are meant to slot into that world. Like, okay, as a few random examples, Changeling. It is defined by, okay, what does the player do? You try and figure out how to build back a life under threat of the Fae. Vampire, what does a player do? You are trying to figure out how to survive from night to night in this horrible, messy life you've been brought into. D&D, what does a player do? A player goes out and fights beasties in search of things. They have a defined idea of what the player is attempting to accomplish, and they can build their game around that in return. Often, you'll see a lot of systems, though, where it's just like, all right, we've gotten to the whole world, but we haven't at all talked about the role the player has in it. And that tends to wind up with very fuzzy feeling when you actually start playing it. It's just makes it harder to get a good direction going, because there's no longer this idea of like, okay, what am I expecting to accomplish with what I've been given here?
I understand now.
I think that actually has like pros and cons to it as well, because like you do have systems where it's like they do outline all the stuff that you do, and that's not bad. But with systems where it's like they don't openly or they don't like directly explain what it is that they're wanting to do, a lot of the times that is just sort of like it's up to the GM to decide what they're going to have their players do.
Yeah, and it's not one of those things where I'm like, this is a must-have for a system. It's a green flag for me where I go, okay, if it at least has a good idea of what it wants me to be doing, that's a good sign for me, because that usually means I'm gonna get a more cohesive, directed experience. But it's not the only thing that matters, and it's not even, the thing where I'm like, this will make it, like, no, but it is definitely like, okay, this is cool and all, but what am I meant to do with it helps a lot for me.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to give, like, the weirdest example of, like... So I say I like Exalted a lot. I realize the biggest issue I have when trying to figure out Exalted games is it's a lot fuzzier on what you're actually generally expecting to do. And that doesn't destroy Exalted, but you gotta admit, it does sometimes make it a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like the Solars have always had like the same style of direction. Don't die.
Yeah.
You are living in a society where your existence is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
I have no concept of what that's like. I said, lying through my teeth lyingly.
But like for Dragon Blooded, it's a lot more up in the air.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have a number of options for what you can do, but it's like the majority of the time it's like you're not gonna get that sort of directness of what you're supposed to be doing. And then lunars have changed like every other edition at this point, so
Yeah,
I don't
lunars, they're just a big enigma of question marks in
Yeah,
my mind.
no one can figure out what they want to do with lunars, which is a shame because there's a lot of cool space for them. And okay, I'm gonna speak some heresy here. I am at the moment liking a lot of what they've done with third edition lunars in terms of their defining trait is that they are here to make sure that like not we're all fighting at the edges of the world, but instead getting them a bit more involved in okay, they're the reason the realm isn't literally everywhere. And I know that that wasn't always the case, and I know it's a retcon, but I do still find it interesting as a perspective of them basically going just like these are the number one cause of death for dragon blooded.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it is definitely like they've never been consistent from edition to edition on what they want those guys to do, and it does noticeably impact the feel lunars have in game because it always makes them feel a lot less able to meaningfully slot into the world and the history.
Yeah, usually when I see lunars in Exalted games, it's not a party of all lunars. There's some lunars and some solars, or some lunars attacking dragon-blooded. I've seen parties of all solars. I've seen parties of all dragon-bloods. Never seen a party of 100% lunars.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a shame, because that could be fun. But at the same time, it's just like, well, what do we do? Fuck?
Yeah.
I mean, have you read the Lunars book? That's
Yeah.
kind of what they do.
Yeah.
Lunars, pick a kink and make a character based off of it.
Christ. But yeah, that is kind of what I was getting at with this idea of like, does it provide an idea of like, what are you expecting to be able to accomplish with the rules we have given you?
Yeah, I think I understand now.
Yeah. Alright, I'm going to go back to eating my sandwich.
Alrighty,
Yep.
enjoy your sandwich, babe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hmm. You know what I'm a big fan of in systems? When the book's layout makes sense.
Look at you, Shadowrun 5e.
Ah, Shadowrun. That was gonna be the first book that I was gonna actually like really truly go through myself, and then I looked at the table of contents and I went, Jesus fucking Christ, was this book designed by someone who was both drunk and constantly taking methamphetamines?
No, Fallen's lucky. Fallen has the German version.
Was the German version better?
By leagues, yes.
Maybe I should learn German just to understand the Shadowrun book. How the fuck did the American version get so fucked to hell?
God, I don't even know.
Shadowrun, aka I hope you like rolling 6-sided dice. Listen, all my click-clack math rocks are special to me.
Listen, we play World of Darkness and Exalted and L5R.
Those
Like-
are D10 systems.
Yeah, it's basically the same problem.
I hope you like rolling shitloads of D10s. Buddy, I played Warhammer. I love my math cubes. Delicious math cubes. There's this one hat that I was looking at that says, I eat dice when the DM isn't looking. And it came in pink. So I was kind of like, I should get this. And just show up wearing it. And not explain anything. Never acknowledge
Yep.
the hat. And then every time the DM turns around, I put a few more of my dice back in the bag. Or get some of the sugar ones. I almost bought you that for the stores taking a break. No! Yes, a lot of stores that I was actually gonna buy from are taking a break right now, and it's like, but I finally have the money for you! Bitch tits.
No, like the Warhammer math cubes, I'm just reminded of my Tyrannifex with flesh borer hives. It's like, yeah, he didn't move this round, so I get 40 shots.
Yeah. Oh my fucking god. But yeah, speaking of red flags in systems, not having a layout that makes sense when everything's all over the place, because it's already hard enough to read the books and comprehend what the fuck they're trying to tell me, especially when they use such overly flowery language half the time, instead of speaking in plain speak. Being like, you roll this for this, and this rule works like this. Instead, they'll be like, ah, yes, in our system. It's like, shut up! Shut up, shut up, shut up! Tell me how to play your game. Or at the very least, have the flowery stuff, and then have like a little box that has the same thing in plain text somewhere that I can easily find it. I want to know books, but the books have been making it very hard. I've been playing a lot of Vampire, and the constant switch between short story parts, lore, and mechanics is horrible. Yeah, I love playing Vampire, but the Vampire book is a disaster. There's no flow. It's just... They have so much fluff.
Well, that's actually true for most of the Onyx Path books, where it's just like they've got...
really bad about that too.
It'll start a chapter, it'll have a short story, then it'll talk about the lore, and then it'll get into the mechanics, which I actually personally enjoy, but because it gets you more invested with the setting. The problem that happens with a lot of Onyx Path, though, is that when they get to the short story section, they all look different to the other short story sections in the same book.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, is this a new mechanic? Oh, nope, this is just another short story.
Exalted did it. I think Exalted 2E did a lot better version of that, because instead of like having a short story, they did comic pages.
I did see that. I do remember that. Shark Dad!
Shark Dad, indeed.
Shark Dad. Ed Coffee Bean has lost himself to the Shark Dad brain rot.
Yeah. So he's actually referencing. I forget which book it's in. It's got to be that has to be in the West. But basically, it's like the most wholesome thing because it's the dad coming home from work, and his daughter was bullying a bunch of people at school for picking on her. And then, it's the classic situation of like, now you can't be doing that, but you did show him 1-4, right? Oh my god, it's so good.
Rose, I sent you Shark Dad. I get to look at
Yes,
Shark
you
Dad.
must look at that. Bring it up on stream if you can.
Yep, I'm bringing it up. Oh, Shark family. Now, did you at least win this time? Shark Dad! Shark Dad! Shark Dad! Shark Dad. I'm here for Shark Dad. It's just kind of like the Grom brain rot. Father of the Year. Amen. But yeah, it's hard. Now, just because a book is laid out badly doesn't mean the system is bad, but goddamn, it's gonna be a little bit harder to learn it. Especially if you're like me, and you have the ADHD, and the short story reminds you of a chore you need to do, or a game you've been meaning to play, and so you put the book down and fuck off. I swear, these books are not designed with motherfuckers with short attention spans in mind.
They don't expect people with short attention spans to play the game, to be honest.
Yeah. That's an accessibility issue on their part. Because I have ADHD, but I love D&D. But yeah, you know what I wish there was? I wish there was, like, a version of the books that was just, like, super scaled down. Just all the mechanics that you need to know. And, like, maybe put it in, like, the back of the normal book. So that way it's like, I really just want to know this rule. Okay, we'll go to the crunch section. And, like, you can keep all your fluff. I'm not saying get rid of the fluff. I love fluff, too. I'm a writer. Hello. But you just have a section in the back that's just crunch.
There's actually a book that you can get a hold of, which is the 5th edition books.
Oh yeah,
in a 7-page rules section. In a 7-page rule book.
Yeah, the Lazy Dungeon Master's Guide. I've been seeing a lot of videos about that. Honestly, it's better than the regular DMG.
Well, it's not just the Lazy Dungeon Master is actually it's a huge reference material book.
Oh yeah, no.
For stuff that you can do.
And that was something that somebody pointed out, is like there's not enough in 5e, there's not enough assistance and thought and aid put out to the dungeon masters, and the dungeon masters are the ones spending all the money on your product the majority of the time. So really, it would make more sense to cater to them, but they don't. Which is why.
But what I'm talking about is somebody took the mechanics for everything in the game, as far as like exploration and combat and what have you, and turned it into a single 7-page booklet.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think that's right. We kept finding it because we wanted to find a cheat sheet for 3.5, but we could only find that little booklet for 5e, and we were getting pissed. Because we were trying to convince more people in our group to give 3.5 a try, because scared of learning rules and fucking it up. And that's the thing. I also fear fucking it up and learning the rules wrong, but I feel like we just need to not yell at people who get the rules wrong if it's clear that they're trying. So that way more people would be willing to give learning the rules a shot, and maybe we can stop cramming everything into the D&D 5e.
No, my thing is always like, this is kind of a red flag. I don't mind players who ask questions, but as long as those questions pertain to like a clarification. I don't like it when players ask questions as like, hey, I don't have time to read this, can you just tell me?
Yeah, it's like, even if you're not gonna crack open the rulebook itself, find a reputable source to get the rule. You have Google. It's super easy. Also, be right back. I have to attend to something really fast. Be right back.
So we're chanting eggnog when she gets back, right?
Yes.
Good. I'm keeping an ear on the doors in the house so I can get us started at an appropriate time. I've got pretty good hearing. Oh. Yeah, sorry I couldn't be here more tonight, but I'm pretty wiped out.
You're good. I don't think it, like, when Rose announced that she was going to be doing this, I was like caught off guard. It's like, oh, right. It's Friday. I was fully expecting us to just not do anything.
I was honestly gonna suggest a couple things initially, and then she was like, I feel like doing tabletop talk tonight. I'm like, awesome. I'm realizing I'm not really up for stream anyway, so I support you doing whatever the hell you want.
Yep.
Eggnog.
Hi?
Eggnog.
Eggnog, 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 eggnog.
Egg.
We're out of eggnog, you filthy animals!
It's true, we are.
I drank the last of it today.
Alright, so we can't shout eggnog. Shark Dad. Shark
Shark Dad.
Shark dad.
Shark dead! Shark dead!
Shark
Shark
dead.
dead!
My work here is done.
Yep, I knew he was gonna fucking leave. But yeah, I think I am going to end the stream here because I am getting very sleepy and very tired. The snow is really knocking all the energy and thoughts out of me, so I'm going to find something to raid. But thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you, Vit, for joining me.
Yep, glad to be here.
I hope you all have a wonderful evening and a wonderful holiday season. And if you're not, we have a safe haven channel on the Discord for all your venting and support needs. Be good to one another. Take care and stay safe. And remember, there are good people doing good things in this world, and they're incredibly sexy. And with their consent, you should make out with them. Speaking of making out...
Yep, you guys all have a good night and a Merry Christmas, and I'm gonna go throw my trash out while I can
Yeah,
in
good
my
call.
shorts.
Y'all take care now. Goodbye. Goodbye.